starting my video as well, recording this for YouTube that I put on my YouTube channel. That's called 3SPM. And for people on YouTube that want to tune into what I'm doing on the radio, well, I'll be changing it after one more show, so I won't talk about that, I guess. But it's Blog Talk Radio, and you can chat on Blog Talk Radio, you can listen, you can call on a landline, or you can use Skype to make a phone call as well. If you pay for the Skype telephone privilege, and if you log into the site Blog Talk Radio, you can see where the host number is. So what I'll probably end up doing pretty soon will be I'll be doing the same show from 9 to 11, or from 9:30 to 11:30, and the last half hour I'll log on to Blog Talk Radio, and so that I can give a recap of the show, so that the people on Blog Talk Radio can tune into my YouTube channel if they're interested. So I'm going to do that so I don't have to pay for the Blog Talk Radio, since my finances aren't in great shape. They're adequate, but not. I have to be frugal, and Blog Talk Radio has been problematic at times, so that I've even lost shows, which may be a combination of problems with my bandwidth, but it's also having to do with their software, I believe, as well. And I might start it up again for the 2-hour shows and pay the amount, because I don't mind paying if I'm getting good service. But if I can make this work this way, it's just as good, because I think the video is more interesting to people, because they can see my funny face, and I think it's just more real than just a radio voice. And I also, on the video, I'm using XSplit, so I can end up putting Bible stuff on the screen if I want to, which I'm going to be doing tonight as well. Tonight I'm going to be focusing on, I'm going to be debunking what is called the Christian rapture. Now, I've talked about this before a number of times. I drop it into the conversation on the Blog Talk Radio shows. But I'm going to go through it in some detail this time, and I'm combining it with one of the most famous, or one of the most used verses of Scripture, actually a couple verses of Scripture, that Christians use to identify how Jesus' second coming must come about. In the clouds, okay? Yes, he is in the clouds. I'm not going to go through the detail of all that right now, because it's cloudiness actually is what it has to do with. But if you want to tune into that, well, if you want to stay tuned here, you'll hear a lot about that as well. I'm going to go through a summary I've done of it, and then I'm going to be posting in the next week or so. I'll be posting a very thorough document that explains basically most of the Jesus prophecy having to do with this subject of Jesus' return, which was most of Jesus' prophecy was about the return. But it's basically it's the how, the where, the when, and the why is all within probably about 40 verses. I don't know if that's the number. I'm just pulling it out of my hat. That's 40 verses. but and some of those verses are the same or similar, but there's enough difference between them that it's apparent that there is different authors of these testimonies, the record book that are called the Gospels, and I include the lost Gospels of Thomas and Philip and Peter and Mary Magdalene, Mary, mother of Jesus, Jesus' vehicle, wasn't the mother of Jesus. Well, yes, she was the mother of Jesus, but not the mother of the Son of God that was inhabiting the vehicle named Jesus. Okay, now without going into too much, I want to get to all that, but I'll probably save a lot of it for the second hour because I want to make sure that I touch on the updates that I've come across on what's happening in the heavens, because we are in the anniversary part of the year for the departure, the exit of dough and crew, which is the exit of Jesus and the first fruits, harvest, the saints, which was the rapture. In short, was when they took over human vehicles for this task, to complete their overcoming for this task. That was what Jesus said was making them fishers of men. So that which is a catching away, and it's a forceful catching away according to the Greek definition of the word that's translated to being caught or caught away, which is the rapture, and the force of it is the force of the information. It's not forcing somebody to do it against their will, but it's the force of the power of reality, the power of the truth of what the whole garden was created for and how the human kingdom was created to be a stepping stone to membership in the evolutionary level above human, where human kingdom is an evolutionary step above animal, and animal above plant, and plant above mineral or elemental kingdom levels, where I'm just talking about them in terms of kingdom levels, not that because there is a hierarchy to each kingdom. And you can see that where you've got, even in the atomic weights of elements in the periodic table, have a hierarchy of how long they live, how long they exist, what it takes to degrade them, and their power and their electromagnetic power that they have. That's a hierarchy. Some elements have next to no power. Okay, and then in the plant kingdom, you have some plants that live for hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of years, like the big sequoia trees and things like that. So a lot of times lifespan seems to be what determines the hierarchy. And of course, being able to dominate in some way also preserves the hierarchy, because it extends the lifespan. So that like a tree that can grow taller can reach the sun and spread out and attract more rain and basically just become a bigger environment of life. And so it's probably somewhere in the top of the plant kingdom, trees. And then in the animal kingdom, of course, the ones that dominate the other animals and eat the other animals are the top of that kingdom. But that's not. I don't know. I might be wrong about what dominates that kingdom, because when you get into the animal kingdom, you start to see characteristics that are of the next level, that the next level tries to instill into humans, which humans don't automatically have unless they get it from their genome. And we see that the humans, we see that the animals that don't dominate others in a predatory way can actually survive just as long as the animals that do survive in a predatory way, but they do so by forming into organizations, groups, herds, like the deer and the antelope and all the animals that form into herds, even penguins and dolphins, and that's how they survive. And they also survive by having speed and agility, and being able to hide from the predators. So I'm not so sure that the predators are the top of the animal kingdom, because remember, this is all pointing to evolving to human and then evolving to potential members of the next level. And members of the next level are not predators in any shape or form. And so that's why they train humans not to be predators. That's why, like Jesus said, the meek will inherit the earth. Well, the meek are the gentle, the kind, the compassionate human beings, the considerate, the individuals that are not so caught up with self and self-survival that they're not willing to serve a man, serve their fellow man, their fellow human being. And that's what separates them from the mammalian animals that are predatory, whether they're feline, as in the cats, or canine, as in the dogs. Remember, it said in Isaiah, I think, that at the time of the end, you would find the wolves and the lions lying down together. And so what do we have? They call them the lion and the lamb. Well, a dog is like a lamb, I guess. It's, they seem to be related, I guess, in genes. And cats seem to be related to lions, and now they're both kind of tame, right? So they've become tame, and that's because that the human kingdom was in a program of being tamed. And that's what is shown in the Moses camp, where the biggest taming happened in this civilization. I recently read that scientists say that there's been 5 periods of time to where there's been a massive extinction on the planet. So that might be right in line with 5 different civilizations on the planet, or maybe each one of those millions of years time periods had several civilizations with it. Well, I don't know. I'm just guessing, but the proof is in the pudding that this planet has been through a lot and has been through all kinds of changes, to where everything's been topsy-turvy, and even though it's not pleasant to think about, that's coming as well now. And will probably be completed within the lifetimes of those that are listening to this right now, within this generation. Because Jesus said within the generation that all these things were being fulfilled within the generation that's experiencing all these things, it will be fulfilled. And a generation wasn't 30 years. I don't know how long a generation was in next level terms. Maybe it's 100 years. I don't know exactly what it is. But so I'm not predicting, exactly what year anything's going to happen. But I do know that I am fairly confident that by the time of the next presidential election in the United States, if we make it to that, or if that is actually a somewhat fair election, which I doubt can happen anymore, uh, well, maybe it did happen with Obama. I don't know exactly. It seemed like it didn't happen with Bush. Anyway, but um, uh, that's the period of time that Christians are talking about where the Antichrist is coming in human form. And they're depicted as the green horse. And it's interesting that it's St. Patrick's Day. I don't know, I guess it's tomorrow maybe. I'm not sure exactly what day it is, but I know it's either today. It was either today or tomorrow or the next day. And they've been talking about green and everything. And apparently, if you wore green in Ireland at a certain period of time in their history, you were a dissident, and you were persecuted for that. So I'm going to go look into that sometime in the next few days to understand that better, because we're coming into in the next few years we're coming into the fourth horse, what's called the horse of the apocalypse, which is what the Christians call it, which isn't what I mean. Apocalypse just means the revealings and the end times prophecy fulfillments. That's all that's really talking about. And the wars that take place as a result of that. And those wars are primarily fought by words as far as the next level is concerned. Although the humans end up fighting that same war both in the heavens and in the ethers and in like in the internet, which is like in the ethers and the satellites and all those beaming back and forth of all that information is part of that. It's within the localized heaven, the New Jerusalem, the holy city that was depicted as being elevated right above the planet, which is where the next level takes believers that aren't ready to become members of the next level, so that they can be kept and even serve some function, even be given a new physical body to wear, so that they can serve function in that way, like as a watcher, which is, and that they can actually renegade from, like the watchers did at the beginning of this civilization, or before that, or many times before that, for all I know, because the whole planet was created, and like I said, to bring humans into, give them the option to bring them into membership in the next level, but it had to be by free will. So in order to not just overwhelm them with reality, which wouldn't be free will, like shooting somebody with a beam of light that blinds them into faith, that's not free will. So the next level didn't do that, because they don't do things like that to people. So Paul of Tarsus, even though he had perfectly good intentions, was working primarily for the Luciferians, the space aliens, the Nephilium, which I talked about a few days ago in my broadcast that's on YouTube, that you can listen to, or you can listen to it on the Blog Talk Radio podcast that's stored in there, where I went into it quite a bit of detail, I believe more than I ever had before, and there's still more to say about that. The more I get into it, the more I see about it, because it's like getting rid of old information, and that kind of opens us up to receiving new understandings if we keep on seeking. And that's the process that we all go through when we're a seeker. And that's why giving it away is important. Telling others about it, talking about it with others is important because it opens us up to receive more, because we don't have all the ultimate understandings. Never. We never can have the ultimate understanding, because the ultimate understanding continues on and on and on and on and on into membership in the next level, where there's ultimate understandings to be reached about where the older members came from, and what other gardens exist, and what other types of gardens there are, because just the human kingdom isn't the only type of environment that's created for the next level to use as a stepping stone till membership in the next level. And Tian even talked about in the 1970s how the next level could actually put a base on a planet to where they could actually walk among human beings without being threatened. Like on this planet, if they were walking around, somebody would come along and try to kill them, or try to have sex with them, or try to do something to them, put them in a zoo or something, make them into a sideshow or something. That's what they would do with a member of the next level if they got their hands on one, and the member of the next level allowed them to do that, and the next level allowed them to do that. That's depicted with the E.T. story, which was a kind of a good depiction of that, even though it wasn't accurate. Next level members don't look like that. They're not like they don't look like animals. They're actually more refined looking than humans. Humans look like animals compared to them. And you can see on my the video that I'm not streaming right now, but I'll be posting. I've now put a picture in there of what T said an older member of the next level looks like. And yes, they have a little bit bigger head, and they're generally of a lack of coloration, which not a reflection on being a Caucasian. Not at all. Everybody in every race has the same equal rights in terms of the next level. The next level are colorblind. In other words, they're not colorblind, by their eyes. Their eyes can perceive color. But they're colorblind, the way Teen Bo talked about it, they're colorblind in terms of putting any labels on anybody because of the colorations of their skin. They are way beyond that in every way. They're also genderless. They're gender blind. Of course, they don't have gender. They're like a combination of the genders without having any of the gender parts. Like a combination of the benefits, the good things about each of the genders, and without the plumbing, what Tian called the organs that represent our gender. They called it plumbing, because Tian always had a humorous way of depicting things that were taboo to talk about, or not that they weren't prudes in any way, shape or form. That's why Do came, and he was in the vehicle he took a vehicle that ended up becoming a homosexual vehicle, a gay vehicle, a male that was having relationships with other males, sexual relationships, and even before he was awakened, because when they come into those vehicles, what they do is the first thing they do is they tag them. Just like a human scientist that has the benefit, that wants to take care of animals, like the caribou wants to track the caribou to see how they're doing, how their herd is doing, in order to see if there's any environmental damage to their herd. That's a good thing, right? So the next level does that as well by tagging a human being. And I'm not exactly sure what that tag involves, but I do know that the tag doesn't interfere with the function of that vehicle, that body, except in the way that it it reserves that vehicle, and it's like putting a homing device on that vehicle so that the next level can watch that vehicle and take care of it so that it doesn't come into any harm as it's growing, because they want to use that vehicle for a next level member to take over, to rapture, to catch away from its normal human path. And the next level designs all this. They design the human vehicles. The human vehicles are all taken over by, all of us are taken over by all the discarnates that are around us from birth and from our parents that teach us. They're taking us over. And we can rebel from that, and the rebellion usually comes because of well, the rebellion comes only for one reason, really, because of next level awareness in some shape or form. And that awareness shows us that the parents don't know as much as they seem to think they know, and that the authorities don't seem to be doing the right thing and don't seem to know as much as they think they know, even though they talk like they do. And we can come into life actually with that sense, even though we won't be able to describe why. And so it looks like we're just rebellious, and rebellion can come in all forms of even becoming criminal activity, not having a regard for the rules of humans. And that can become a big negative as well, of course. It doesn't mean it's a positive necessarily. It can become a big negative when if we start giving in to the influences around us that would have us continue to even abuse other humans and steal from them and murder or abuse, or or right up into where you have countries that are doing that, which we see all the time happening. The countries are all basically under the influence of, well, the Luciferian, space alien, fallen angels. We're all under that influence, all of us, in much more way than we think. All the religions are actually geared towards that, even though the religions originated from next level interface. Every time next level members came incarnate or working through a human, which is a form of incarnation as well, but I'm not sure that it's exactly the same thing, like for instance with the Old Testament prophets. Or the depiction might be that the prophets are students, and so so that they may not be incarnating as much as being outside. Well, I don't really know how to talk about this the way Doe might see it, but I don't think it's important that I do. So I'm not going to try to make stuff up. If I kind of understand more about it in the future, I'll talk about it. But I'm going to skip over that. But let me say, like, I went into BP Earthwatch's site, and I watched all the videos that I had missed in the last couple weeks, and he's got a lot up there that he puts up, and talking about the asteroids that were near misses, and I knew about them, most of them, but there's been more than I didn't know about, and I also learned about a lot of the meteors that have been happening. It's as big of a meteor time now as it was last year. When I say meteors, I'm talking about fireballs primarily. And the fireballs are behaving different than meteors. Even though humans are trying to, the humans with the authority and the science background and, the astronomers and stuff are saying that, it just so happens that we're seeing more of those because we have more cameras. And I'm not saying that that's not true. but at the same time, uh, um, there's a lot of things happening that we know were not happening before. For instance, in the distant heavens, for sure, there are a lot more comets, there are a lot more asteroids, uh, and maybe we couldn't see them before, but I'm talking about like since 2008 is when this all started, and that's when I said that was the seventh trumpet was sounding, which it's still sounding. The seventh trumpet, angel trumpets, is sounding right now because I'm sounding it, because I'm talking about the next level, and the next level are the ones that send the messengers to do these broadcasts. I'm not saying that I was sent to do this. No, I wasn't sent to do this. I was sent to actually, well, when I say I was sent, everybody that has recognition of the reality of the next level has next level mind in them. So they are all, in that way, sons of God, okay? Offspring of God. But just because you're an offspring, just like in a human family, gives no guarantee that you will do your parents' bidding. I mean, be of service to your parents, be of service to your family, your household. And that's something that you have to wake up to. And the next level starts you out by giving you a little bit of their mind that's actually in the genetic code as well, that we all get because of all the previous times that they made deposits of next level mind in human vehicles. And so that we all basically then can consider ourselves sent from the next level if we are growing that mind in us by continuing a conversation with our older members, however we think of them as our Heavenly Fathers, the individuals that created everything, the individuals that exist beyond all the stars. Throughout the universe they exist. Not like the space aliens who maybe came from one little planet from a distant, not even a distant galaxy necessarily, but a distant solar system, even within the same galaxy. I'm not so sure that most of the, I don't know, I got to look into this, but I suspect that the stars that we can see are all within our galaxy. We're in the middle of it, right? Or kind of like one of the ends of it. So we're not looking at other galaxies except through our telescopes. So, and then you say also that everybody is sent, because the Luciferians also came from the next level originally. So I'm not like putting myself on a pedestal or something by saying that I'm a messenger that was sent. No, basically I flunked out of the classroom for the first fruit harvest, and uh, and because I showed the next level that I still believed in them, and by coming out public in 1997 when they laid down their lives, when it was against my human judgment to do so, because I knew there was no benefit to doing so. When I did that, the next level took that as recognizing that I had not turned against them. I mean, turning against them isn't just talking against them. It's actually not believing in them anymore. That's turning against them too. I don't know if individuals are treated the same way if they just turn against them and then they go their own path. And I think in a sense then they're kind of like in limbo, and they may have another opportunity. But if they start going public and talking against the next level, then I don't know, they may be short-lived uh, in their physical vehicles, because the next level has plenty of individuals that are talking against the next level. They don't need anybody to that was once a part of a classroom, I don't think, trying to bring trouble to those classmates that didn't graduate, that are still trying to share information about about T and O in the next level. At least that's my sense right now. So that's the reason why some of the classmates that left the next level and had something to say negative against the next level, I think left their vehicles. But that might not be the only reason. I don't know. It might be that they just don't get help to live. Like if they get a disease or something, because they're not connecting to the next level and not asking help of the next level, then the next level doesn't help them. It's the same with humans. Humans, whether they have been deposited with a soul seed or not. If they've been deposited with a soul seed, then they're just as much a child of the next level as someone that was in the classroom with T and O, in a sense. I mean, it's all degrees, of course. It's like every plant doesn't grow at the exact same speed, at the exact same moment, and the exact same way. And human beings, like myself, that have next level mind in them, are not able to distinguish which other human beings have more next level mind in them or don't. Because you can be very fooled by it. I mean, you can look the part, but then you could have this behavior on the side, which can be just in your head, that can be so contrary to the next level that that if you were going to measure the two individuals, the two souls, you'd say one's got this big tumor in it, and the other one just has little tumors, that need to be gotten rid of. That's not really a good example because I don't. Well, maybe it is. Maybe it's not so bad. I was kind of correct when I said that. I don't know. So I can't deny that I say things all the time, and I feel like I know that there are crew members of the next level assigned to watch me, and that means watch my thoughts. I can't tell you how many direct examples of having crew members and DO, and T, but mostly DO and crew members, come to me to answer questions, come to me to give me messages about myself, and come to me to correct me, and to correct me on the spot when I'm talking about the next level publicly. And to correct me when I'm writing stuff as well, and to correct me in the kind of thoughts that I let into my head, because I'm threatened by every thought that every other human is threatened by: sexuality, ego. Same. We have the same things to go through: fear of health, fear of disconnection from others and not having friends. And I mean, I don't really have that fear, but I don't really like saying things that I know is going to turn people away from being a friend of mine, and that happens all the time because I'm fairly quick to tell people things that if they don't have enough a little seed left that's still a little bit able to grow in them of next level mind, they can take offense with and be against me because of. But like I was saying before, we're all at different stages. And so there are many individuals that have seed of the next level that's still alive in them, or they wouldn't be listening to these broadcasts, or they wouldn't be searching for the truth on the web, or they wouldn't be looking under all the nooks and crannies of the world and trying to figure out what's going on and with all the politics and all the things that are happening. they wouldn't be interested in any of that if they still had seed. And you never know when somebody is going to become interested in that. Anybody could wake up at any moment, and that would be like the birth of that seed, like coming out of the ground. It would be coming out of the hiding, out of the dark of the underground. And those analogies are exactly what the case is with the next level, because the next level created all these systems and all these environments and all these kingdom levels with the same patterns. That to reach the light, the seed has to go reach for the light. But the seed has enough light in it, in its genetic structure, that it can have the strength with a little bit of water and temperature, which temperature is the sun, comes from the sun. So the plants need a certain amount of temperature increase in order to sprout, to get out of that earth, to get out from under the darkness. And that's the same thing with the next level. When they put a deposit of their mind, which is like a seed, it's actually a physical form that I've talked about before. It's like a balloon, in a sense, that's put into the vase of the human body, and it can grow in that body. And it only receives next level mind. But what you do with that next level mind is still up to you. And that's why you can see that the space aliens and the Nephilim, which are the Nephilim, the same things, because they're all the descendants that came out of those underground bases that were hybridized by the original fallen angels, of a mixture of the seed that the next level planted of the human race, that was also what the next level used to make the vehicle Adam, which was, I guess you could say, a hybrid of their own. It wasn't produced by mixing together the sperm and eggs from human. I don't think there was sperm involved at all, but I may be wrong. There might have been some form of that, but might have been just done in a test tube. I don't know. But and of course humans are doing that now because the space aliens, the original ones, knew that could be done and were practicing that when they were shut up in their underground base inside the earth, wherever they were, underground or under the sea. Doesn't make any difference. They were practicing all that. So they were waiting to get out, hoping they could get out, because they had no way to get out because the next level shut them in. The next level can do that easily with earthquakes and volcanic activity. By the way, Yosemite Peak, or some of the peaks around there, are showing tremendous signs of eruption coming. For 25 miles to 37 miles around, the earth has swelled, has grown around whatever area. I forgot the names of the mountains that are over there, in particular, that are being affected. But and the other signs as well. The helium 4 is coming out of those that area. And helium, in an unprecedented way, because helium-4, I guess, is known to emit from volcanic areas, but never to the degree that it is. And what scientists are saying is that it's the signs of a big eruption coming. And then, of course, we've got all those earthquakes on the West Coast, or actually around the Ring of Fire. There's been a lot of earthquakes up from Alaska down to Argentina, and then on the other side, Japan, China, down to Indonesia. I'm not sure I'm getting the countries exactly right, but all happening within the last week, 4 weeks since the mid-February time period when that meteor went over Argentina and stimulated earthquakes. So the next level has stepped it up a level. It's not only the anniversary for the big show of what the next level is doing on the planet, So they're saying to everybody, look, we exist, we're here, we're in control. This is our planet, you are our possession. We have given you the opportunity to look to us. We're going to keep on giving you that opportunity, but at the same time we're approaching recycling time. And so the opportunities for you to understand our reality, understand that you can gravitate to our reality if you want to, and you can actually live, and actually you can be among us, and you can live with a happier life than you have ever had, although it'll be different. But difference isn't negative. Anybody that's been through a lot of changes knows that even though those changes can be very difficult, when they get to the other side, they're thankful for them because they recognize that they've become a better creature from the experiences, the challenging experiences that they had. And it's the same with being willing to submit our will to the next level. It's not a terrible thing when the will of the next level is for us to become all that we can become. It's only the Luciferians and all the influences, the discarnates, that would have us look at that word submit as a negative. When as humans, we're submitting all the time. We're submitting our will to other humans and to the governments and to the environment and to the negatives that happen to us in our health that we have to submit to. We don't have a choice but to deal with colds and flus and germs and disease and broken arms and all things that can happen to humans. We have no choice to deal with it when it happens. And it does happen to all of us. And so we are submitting to that, to the nature. But that nature was created for a reason to help us decide that instead of submitting to that, we could choose to submit to the next level that created it all. And with the next level, there are no negatives that come from submitting to the next level, except that we will have to disconnect from the human kingdom, which to the human vehicle, our bodies, looks like a negative, until we train that human vehicle to recognize that it's not, which requires constant attention. That's what overcoming is, training the vehicle to do what our next level mind in us tells them to do. And the guidelines of what to tell them to do come from the next level. And it comes in stages. And so it came to the human kingdom through the Moses stage, through all the instructions that Jehovah gave to Moses to give to the people. And whether it was how to cut their beard, or how to build the ephod, or the breastplate, and what colors to put on it, and what gemstones to use on it, all that detail that looks trivial were all ways of offering training that would allow those individuals to become crew-minded. Because the next level, they don't get off on being alone and being some big honcho and having everybody praise them. Jesus didn't enjoy that. I can't think of any examples where he enjoyed praise, but if I see any, I'll post it. But I just know that the individual that was occupying that Jesus vehicle, that took over that Jesus vehicle, did not get off on other people thinking he was a big shot because he could heal people and perform what they called miracles, which those said 90% of those miracles were exaggerated. I'm not sure if that meant that which ones were exaggerated, But I mean, Jesus didn't count those miracles as signs of who he was. He said no signs would be given except the sign of Jonah, which was that he would be in the belly of the beast, in the belly of the whale for 3 days and 3 nights. and then would come out of that and prove that he was still alive. Anyway, I don't want to get into too much of that because then I'll... So I suggest going to all the Be Pure Watch videos and watching them all. And sure, watch the Christian ones too. I mean, you're gonna learn a lot of stuff that actually I don't really like to say, because I don't really like to point out what people don't know, but he doesn't really know much about what he's talking about when it comes to Scripture. But in terms of his ability to use software and observe the heavens and figure out what's true about what the authorities are saying and what's not, he's got a good head on his shoulders. I hope that for his sake that he's not going against the next level. But that's not my business. All I can do is kind of present him with next level viewpoints, which I don't do commonly because I don't want to be shut off of his site. I don't know if he would do that. But, and I don't want to turn off, there's a benefit to approaching people in stages. That's for anybody that wants to talk about T and Do to people. Realize that it can be done in stages. You don't have to be in a hurry. We still have a few years, maybe more, to where we can probably freely talk about T and Do to people. Maybe more than that. But so you don't need to barrage people with all the information right off the top, because it's like giving a plant too much fertilizer. It doesn't mean that you're the gardener when I say that. No, you're just you just have the fertilizer and you're spreading it. You're like throwing the seeds out, okay? They're not your seeds. They're the next level seeds. I mean, you do possess them. You possess that mind, and so that is your mind to keep and to grow. And so, yes, you are then in service to the next level. Then you are performing that messenger service. But it's so easy to let that go to our head, to make us think that we're something very special. And yet we are, but all humans that have next level seed in them are special to the next level. T even said that Lucifer was still loved by the next level. So even if they go against the next level, like Jesus said, they know not what they do. So that's the way that we can demonstrate that we have next level mind in us by not looking down on others, even if they're doing things that are terrible. I mean, that part of the next level mind, on a subjective level, I have, but on a personal level, I don't. In other words, if somebody in the government or somebody in the world does something to somebody else, I'm able to see that they're a product of their environment, and they wouldn't have become so ugly had they been raised better and not been treated that way and not been part of a system that is so deceitful and blah, blah, blah. But if somebody comes to me in person and, does something to me, it's hard for me to hold my tongue and have that same point of view. Though I do gravitate to it eventually, and it doesn't take that long necessarily, but I don't know what it would take if somebody did something really harmful to somebody that I knew, or you know, I hope that doesn't happen, but, you know, no matter what the case is, like there was an individual in Colorado whose daughter or son was actually killed or harmed in some way by somebody, and he was going to be up for being death penalty, and this person is coming forward and saying that he doesn't want this person to be killed because it's not going to bring his daughter back, and it's not going to make him feel better. That individual is evolved. Whether that individual ever has a relationship with T and Do or not doesn't mean that that individual isn't evolved and that the next level won't save that soul for a future opportunity. Because that point of view didn't come from humans, didn't come from the animal kingdom. But one more thing that I wanted to point out about the satellites and the comets, and because there's a lot going on every day, was this report with a video of what they called in the broadcasts that I saw in two different kind of alternative-based, internet-based periodicals. One I think was the Examiner, the other one I forgot the name of, that was broadcasting. And people, you should subscribe to those papers, or at least do a Yahoo and a Google keyword search on the news, to where on UFOs or two witnesses doesn't seem to bring anything up anymore, but I don't even check it that often. But UFOs is definitely a good subject to have as a keyword that brings you all the articles that come out about that, or space aliens, or whatever keyword you can assign to it, so that you get all these articles that are coming out. And this one was showing video footage that they said was coming from the International Space Station, that showed what looked like they were calling an armada of UFOs, spacecrafts. And then someone else was saying might have been lights, showing lights on the Earth, except that they're all different colors. And I don't know if from the International Space Station we actually see colors in the photographs that are taken. I mean, I know we see the Earth colors, but I don't know if we see the colors of lights that humans would make. Because most of the lights that are on Earth that are seen from space are basically white lights, I think. A vast majority of them. And so, but these lights have all different colors. Each dot is a different color or shade. So it looks like a rainbow kind of moving. And I can imagine that, I wondered if it was like birds, a flock of birds reflecting the sun's light, which was possible, but they weren't flying. Well, they could have been a flock of birds, but see, the next level, one thing I know it's not space aliens. I just know that it's not space aliens. I don't think the space aliens have that many spacecrafts. And if they did, even if they did have as many spacecrafts as were depicted in that, I don't think they would all be coordinated together, because I don't think the space alien groups, all the different species of space aliens, I don't think they're working together that much. Or maybe a few of them are. But I think they're as independent-minded as the countries on Earth are independent-minded. In fact, I think the space aliens all have their turf on the planet, to where, like I wrote in some lyrics to a song, that they're corralling us with borders. I don't think the next level does a lot with making of the borders. You can see humans fighting over the borders all the time, which largely has to do with fighting over resources or access to the resources or access to the sea, which is access to the resources. Um, uh, that's all space alien, mammalian, nephilium-based activity. Uh, Remember, the next level lets the humans recycle themselves. They do a lot of the spading themselves, of spading one another by by the wars and things. Because all the people that stay around to fight the wars are of the same mindset, even though they may have a good reason, a humanitarian reason to fight the war. If they're throwing Molotov cocktails, if they're throwing bombs at people and if they're using guns and they're throwing rocks and using violence against others, then they're doing the same thing as those that suppressed them to begin with. The ones that are peaceably demonstrating and then they're being is more of a next level way of voicing your opinion against what's happening, for sure. But at this time, I don't believe the next level is encouraging anybody to revolt against authorities and threaten their own lives by doing so. I mean, I believe that there are probably many exceptions, and the next level knows where those exceptions are, so I'm not telling anybody what to do. But as I spoke about in the last broadcast, I was in touch with some people from Turkey that were subject to some of the backlash of the authorities against the peaceful protesters. And my advice to them was, you're not going to gain any ground significantly again in those protests. But I respect that they're trying to bring about change. But the best thing that they could probably do would be get out of that area if they can. Go someplace else. Go to a different country where they have more freedoms and where it's more civil. Because fighting over territory and fighting over resources and fighting over where the money is being used in a government, that's not a next level type of fight. The next level, if you gravitate to the next level by asking them for their help, by projecting your thoughts, asking for help or asking for their will for you, as far away from the planet as you can, or if you have the wherewithal to just use the names T and Do. If you do that, no matter what country you're in, the next level will find a way to help you, find a way to gravitate more to their mind, to become a potential student of theirs. And that might happen right where you are by talking to people about the next level while they're doing their protesting. Now that would be, to me, that would be a good thing, because a lot of those protesters just don't know what else to do, but they want to give instead of take, and they're willing to even give their life for others, so that their children or so that others in their family or friends can have a better life. So the fact that they're willing to give is a next level. That's what love is. Being able to give of yourself without, and the highest love is giving when you don't see a direct return of that giving. That's the highest form of love. That's the highest form of giving. And the really love in all of the departments is, you know, it may still be a fragment of that. I'm not saying that, you know, it's all or nothing. That's not a next level view of all or nothing until it's graduation time. And for all of us now, where it's a graduation time, but not ultimate graduation into the next level, like the 42 did by laying down their lives, and like the disciples of Jesus did when they told everybody about Jesus, knowing that they would eventually be killed because of it. That's also laying down your life. That's also a suicide mission that they knew about ahead of time. When you know that you're going to be killed because of what you're saying, then you're volunteering for a suicide mission. But it's not a suicide mission that is a negative. It's a suicide mission that is a positive because it's not for you. It's for your older members. Even though it will result in being for you, but it's strictly the way that in which the next level is designed, that we don't do things for ourselves. We do things for our older members, and then the older members do things for us. Give us things and give us things to do for others. It's always giving in the next level, where in the human kingdom it's taking. There's some giving, of course, too, because even animals give to one another. It's just a matter of how much, to what degree, and in what circumstances that they give to one another. If they're threatened with losing their food, they're not going to be so inclined to give up their food to another animal. And but humans have grown to where some humans will give up their food to other humans and go without, give up their clothing to other humans. That came from the next level. That came from Jesus. That came from Moses. That came from whatever influence the next level had in incarnated members in India and China or wherever they were, in previous civilizations or in this current civilization with the rise of Buddhism, which had a lot to do with the renunciation of the world originally. And like Christianity and Judaism became something that was part of the world. And so it became negative to next level growth. All right, I think I said enough about that. But check out that Armada video and recognize that even if it was a hoax, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if it was a hoax. The fact is that the next level can do that kind of stuff. And will be doing more and more of that kind of stuff. And it will be harder and harder for the humans to deny. Right now, they can turn off the SETI, satellite images to us that they transmit over the internet. And they can turn off Stereo B spacecraft telescope in space, satellite telescope, so that we don't see those images, or they can filter out the images that they don't want us to see. And they can turn off the other satellites that are up there with telescopes on them, and there's a bunch of them. That BP Earthwatch keeps on talking about that he's able to see, and I haven't actually gone to those JPL sites where a lot of those satellites are being broadcast from. And the NASA and JPL, they can doctor the images, of course, as well. And they do. They doctored the image that was of ISON, comet ISON. And no doubt they're going to be doctoring image of comet linear. And potentially comet Lovejoy is also. There was also 2 comets last time with pan stars. There was another comet that was with him. The next level does things in pairs. Notice that. That's why they sent T and Do, 2 witnesses. That's why Jesus sent everybody out in twos. T and Do sent everybody out in twos when they were doing their, and had partnerships and everything they were doing, and crews. And so the armada is a crew. Whenever there was members of the next level sent to do a task on Earth, when they were in twos, you can be pretty sure that that was members of the next level as opposed to being space aliens. Even though the space aliens can do that too, and they have. 2 individuals came to John Smith in the 1800s. And no doubt that was a way of trying to create a facsimile of the 2 witnesses, because the 2 witness prophecy was around for a long time. So the Luciferians knew about it. So they were looking for ways to stimulate that. And it wasn't the only depiction of 2 individuals coming to somebody. I've read a number of accounts of 2 individuals coming to somebody in spirit form. But in terms of being in a physical body, it's pretty rare, especially in incarnate physical body. You get 2 aliens coming out of the same spacecraft, 2 space aliens coming out of the spacecraft to try to trick people into thinking that they're like a twosome. And they may be operating in a twosome. They could be robots too that are operating in a twosome. But one of the things that makes for the evidence of a excuse me, of a renegade is that they're very individualistic. They're very into self. They're into self-realization. They're into self-consciousness. They're into self-awareness. I guess I said that already. But I don't know any other words to say it, but they're into building themselves as being all that's needed. That's why when they say that God is within, that you don't need to look externally for enlightenment, because the God is within you. All you got to do is let it be. Let that God within you take you over, and don't make it into an effort. Just let it happen. And that couldn't be further from the truth of what the next level considers to be enlightenment. The next level enlightenment is when your whole body is filled with light. And the only way that can happen is when you make your eye single-mindedness. And that single-mindedness must become single-mindedness with the mind coming from your older member. That older member last used a human vehicle, that he ended up naming Do. Now, I'm going to spend the next 46 minutes going through prophecies. You know what, I'm going to okay, let me see. What should I do here? Trying to expand my little screen here. I mean, you can't see that I'm looking at my notes. I'm creating this document, so I'm going to be reading from it. And yeah, the actual verse that I want to, well, let's see. I said I was going to debunk the rapture. Let me go back to that then. Not get off the track here, Sawyer. which I have to go up quite a bit because there's a lot of debunking to do. Okay, let's see, is that what it is? Yeah, that's about it. Well, I've talked about these verses before in Luke 17, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, and how the next level wasn't coming in a way that could be observed with the eyes, and it had to do with the fact that Jesus was coming incarnate, hidden in a secret way, an undercover way, and I even discovered a word that shows that undercover in a way I hadn't seen before in my translation of prophecy. But I'm going to start with Luke 17:24, which is, I'm going to read it. Well, let me put it actually in the, hey, I even have it here. I'm so prepared. Oh, except I'm not quite in the right verse. Let me see if I can get to there. 17:24. Put it on the top. For as the lightning that lighteneth, so I'm sorry this is the King James original version, but it's the version that people are going to have the least problem with overall in the Christian community. Even though I say that, and then at the same time, because of some of the poor translations in it, that would be a reason to have problems with this version, and I understand that. But it's also the software that I accumulated, so I've done everything with that version. But I use other versions all the time when I'm trying to understand something. But for the most part, you're not missing a whole lot by other versions if you dissect them with the Hebrew and the Greek. If you don't dissect them, then you can lose a lot by just sticking to the King James Version. But I dissect them. I dissect every word. And I take out the words that were added by the translators, that weren't added because it required more than one word to depict the translation. So, for as the lightning that lighteneth out of the one part under heaven, which all those words aren't actually in the original manuscript. Let me see here. Let me go back to this other one here. This is from Strong's Concordance, which is also a King James version, but you can see that the black letters are words that were added by the translators, where the blue letters are not. Now, sometimes the black letters were added by the translators, but like I said, needed to be added by the translators to actually give an adequate translation, because in the Hebrew or Greek, one word translated to English would be translated to more than one word. And actually, if I was doing this original translating, which you will see in the documents that I write, you will see that the Bible would be 1,000 times longer than it is now. So, because most of the words need more than one word, not just for different options, but to show the variances in the way those options can be put together. So, with that said, I'm going to say that oh, I'm not even seeing this whole thing. What's going on here? Oh, I see what I'm doing. I'm losing my mind. It's 'cause my focus isn't on this. So notice this word under. I just want to point out, under heaven shineth unto. Okay, so for as, I'm going to read it again for the people that are only hearing this on the Blog Talk Radio. So the way you can read this without the added words is, for as lightning lighteneth of under heaven shineth unto or to under heaven, so shall also Son of Man be in his day. Shall is in black, but a lot of times the tense of these words necessitates putting in a word that will demonstrate the future tense, which in this case is what's happening here. So that wasn't added by the translators for no good reason. Most of the words they add are pretty good. So it's only occasionally that, like the other part, I don't necessarily agree with that. Now, the fact that this word under heaven was repeated twice is interesting. The next level doesn't generally repeat things unless they're trying to stress something. And I don't think this is actually stressing something by repeating this word, because heaven can be sky, basically. Can also be the stars. Could be anything elevated from the earth. Lightning, lightning is astrape, which is related to a star, okay? If you look down here, you can see that if you look down to astron is a star. I'm talking about in the constellations. But then astrapo is a flash as lightning. So that's the flashing of the light, as opposed to being the star itself, the starlight. And then astrape is talking about the brightness of it, the glare of it. But lightning really isn't related to any of these definitions, is it? Because lightning, L-I-G-H-T-N-I-N-G, to us means like a bolt of lightning from a storm. But that's not what this word relates to. So why leave it as lightning? See, that doesn't make sense. So I would say, for as shining, or as glaring, or as light, shines. Now, another way of looking at the way the next level talks about stars is a star is actually like a member of the next level. Even Lucifer is depicted as being a star falling from heaven, because once you become a member of the next level to any degree, you have next level mind in you, and you are then a star. Now, when you're a child of the next level, or a student of the next level, you're not a member of the next level yet. But once you're given a body by the next level, and you're giving a task to do for the next level, like as a watcher, and you're assigned a crew in a spacecraft and to oversee the humans, now you are like a member of the next level, but still a child, a son. Then you're more like a son of the next level. But you're not an adult member of the next level. You're not an older member of the next level. I know this is confusing, but I have to keep on hammering on it to try to describe it better and better, because it's so easy to get mixed up with all this. And it's very hard for me to talk about it easily because of the influences that sit on my head to try to confuse me. I do understand it, but so if you say that the light, the starlight, now you're saying that, you could be saying that that light comes from a being. It doesn't just come from the cosmic consciousness or the universal mind. It comes from a being. That's the difference between the Luciferians that promote the universal mind and the cosmic consciousness way of thinking, and the higher power way of thinking, where they're not actually talking about it, talking about those individuals as beings, living beings. That's why Jehovah said, I am, I exist. That's why Jesus said it was God of the living, not God of the dead. They're not spirits. They're living. They have bodies. We need to think of them that way, because that's more realistic. Because when they come to us, they come face to face, incarnate. They don't come like a spirit, like that went to Paul and overcome them with their spirituality or their space alien look. Space aliens, they will come to individuals to try to trick them occasionally, but if those individuals are calling out the name Jesus even, or call out the name God or Jehovah, or when those space aliens come around, I've been told by one abductee that saves them from being abducted. This was a priest that said he was abducted by, or he was approached by space aliens to try to abduct him, and he called on the name Jesus, and he says that kept him away, but didn't stop them from trying to get him again. So this is really saying, for as the star that is enlightened, whose eye is single, who is an older member of the next level, who is the Heavenly Father, as they shine, which is astrapo, as they lighten, as they shine, as they distribute their mind, which their mind is, remember, same as spirit. Spirit and mind is synonymous, and as it comes to humans, is in the form of language and words, so that we can understand it, the meaning of it. It's not a nebulous energy like white light. Not that we cannot receive energy from the next level that is not word-based. We can. We do. For as that older member shines their mind under heaven. Now, under is interesting, because it's the Greek word hupo, or hupo, I guess is the way you would say that. You can see it on 52, 59 in Strong's, the Greek word. And it's saying it's the primary preposition, under. But then it gives you examples of place, being under a place. Well, we're not talking about a place right now, right? Or unless, well, heaven actually would be a place, but it's also a condition of being a member of the next level. But let's say it's a place, so they could be talking about under heaven. It also is used, well, let's say, without talking about what it's applying to. I believe it is an adjective, although it doesn't say it here in Strong's. But Strong's doesn't, in this Strong's version, doesn't say a lot of times the part of the speech it is. It's usually an adverb or an adjective or a verb. A place or with here it is talking about or with verbs, the agency or means through. So shining the mind of the next level through the means of the heavenly means, or through the heavenly distribution, or through it could be talking about the actual local heaven, which is the New Jerusalem, which is the holy city of God, where there are members of the next level actually operating, but the whole city is basically cloaked from human view, although it's within the atmosphere of the earth. I've talked about it before as being approximately 1,360 miles rectangular in shape, this holy city. Because a city actually is depicting that it has walls. And when you look at the description of the holy city, it has a wall that is very, very tall. So that wall probably extends some 1,360 miles up. So for all intents and purposes, it extends into outer space. That is all the local heaven, which is the spacecraft that was the first thing that came to this part of the galaxy to start the planet Earth. Or to, even before the sun was here, that heaven was here. That's what started the Big Bang in this part of the galaxy, I guess. Maybe that's not a way to depict it, but I suspect it's not too far-fetched. Now notice it says, whither underneath heaven. But I'm going to jump down and then you actually get to the definition, because it also has to do with time. And it says among. So it's among heaven. Now if you're talking about among heaven, you're talking about among the beings that are in that heavenly spacecraft. Because remember, everything in heaven it has to do with the beings in heaven. Because the next level, they're not about the spacecraft that they operate in. That's just the bus that they take and they drive around in for transportation to do their tasks. And where they operate their laboratories through. And where they keep souls that they want to bring back. And do things with spirits even. And do things with, who knows what all they do things with. But Enoch talked about how there were 7 levels of heaven. So, there are all kinds of chambers. And but we're always talking about beings, not spacecrafts. So it's important, and it's not, the next level isn't about the place so much as about the beings and the mind. Everything is geared to that when we try to choose which words to use for translation. So when this older member is sharing their mind, would be shining their mind among the heavens, or through that spacecraft, in other words, through that spacecraft heaven, through the members of the next level that are doing the task, which would be the heaven, the occupants of that spacecraft. Also notice from that heaven. In other words, that is coming from that heavenly abode. I mean, all these words actually can apply. The next level are masterminds in giving us prophecy, blueprints that can be interpreted in many ways, because the next level actually wants humans to choose the way they want to understand it. That's what free will is about, giving them choice. So that if somebody wants to choose to just see this as Jesus is going to be in his physical body with the scars in his hands, and he's going to be floating on the clouds, and he's going to call out to everybody through the voice, which there's scripture to back that up, that you could hear voices from the heavens. The transfiguration experience, that voice, and the baptism of Jesus was voices from the heavens. There were a number of voices from the heavens. Moses depicted that Jehovah talked with the people, and it sounded like booms and thunder to some people, and other people understood the words, voices from the heavens. So we can believe that Jesus can be on that cloud. After all, he was taken up into the clouds. He was ascended with his physical body. He was seen, witnessed to be physically lifted up into the clouds. So why shouldn't somebody believe that? And they were told that he was going to come back that way. But see, there's a whole bunch of verses in addition to this that demonstrate that that's not the clearest picture of how his return was going to happen. First of all, he was going to be the Son of Man. He wasn't going to be Jesus. He said that if somebody comes to you saying that they're Jesus, the Christ, don't believe them, because there's going to be all kinds of false Jesuses. So if it's not going to be Jesus, then it's not going to be that same body with the holes in his hands. And it's going to be a Son of Man, it says here. Son of Man is an offspring of human. So in this scenario, it's going to be somebody else that's in a human vehicle that's going to be, according to some Christians, sitting on that cloud. And how are people going to know who it is? How do we know it's not going to be a projection from Hollywood or from the space aliens or from the government doing something to make it look like it's Jesus? How are we going to know it's him calling us up if we don't know what that Son of Man looks like? Now, if it looks like dough, then there's a whole bunch of people that are going to say, that's him. If he comes back again in this way, because these scriptures, these prophecies also can work from multiple occasions. The next level designs them for their ultimate opportunity to be able to bring the truth to people and to show the fulfillment of the prophecies, so that I can have this conversation now. Because there are indications that dough is going to come back again, and he's going to look like the Son of Man. Applewhite. But I don't think he will look any more like Applewhite than Jesus looked like Jesus when he came out of the tomb. However, it won't matter, because all the individuals that know it's dough, in their minds will see the Applewhite vehicle, because it will be the same mind. I'm doing my show for another 10 minutes. Excuse me. So, now I want to skip down to this word under again because it says that it's going through or among or by or from or in or of or under or with heaven. All can apply. Under heaven could be saying that they're talking about the spacecraft heaven that is under the canopy of heaven, under the stars. It's not part of the starscape or part of the mothership, if you want to call it that way. That's not next level terminology, I don't think, necessarily, mothership. But I may be wrong. They may have used that terminology. Don't mind them once. But then again, it says it's shining again. Look at shine, radiating, brilliancy. But look at how to beam, it's beaming. And what does this actually mean? Give. It's giving. Give light. It's giving light. To is the next word, which generally means to the point reached or concerning. A lot of examples on what that can, toward. Toward is interesting, put it that way, because there's a purpose to this. The older member's mind is, the first thing I said when I gave a meeting in 1975 at a town in Massachusetts with a W. I forgot the name of it. Doesn't matter. But Tiendo said initially that this was a very special time right now on the planet when a light was shining on the planet from distant space, and that it was bringing growth to every life form on the planet. And that, so I remember saying at that meeting, I started off the meeting, and this was the first public meeting I gave to about 200 people in a library in Worcester, Massachusetts. I said, there is a light shining on the planet, because that's what Tiendo told us. And I felt it. I mean, I was like, I knew that mind was coming through me then. And that light came through Tiendo, and there was a halo around them, and it basically ended up filling the room wherever they were. No matter how many lights were on or not in the room, you saw that haze in the room. I saw it on 2 occasions. I mean, 2 public occasions. Then I saw it on many occasions, even around classmates that were talking about the next level and on the Beyond Human series tapes when I wasn't doing it. I could see that energy around them. That's what this is talking about. That light is being given to the planet. Now it repeats again, under heaven. Which I want to remind that, I want to go back down to this idea of hupo. I've only got 14 minutes left. I hope I can get to at least this one part, because I didn't really get to rapture much. But notice how it says, it retains the same general applications, especially of inferior position or condition, and especially covertly or moderately. Now, I'm not focusing on that word covertly for any strange reason, but Tien Do said that the first, that they came undercover. And that's what the thief in the night was representing, that they were coming undercover of night, night being through the spirit world, the unseen world, not seen by you, cloaked, not able to be distinguished. And like I said before in the verses before this verse in Luke and also in Matthew, that not to be observed. You cannot observe with your eyes. The next level's coming. Under heaven. Now I want to look more at the origin of this word hupo. Look at the other usage of this word hupo. Sounds like the Marx Brothers, right? Well, look at 5260. Hupo ballo. Now what does that talk about? To throw in stealthily. That's clandestinely. That's underground. That's undercover. Secretly. Stealthily. Stealth. Suborn. I'm not sure what that word actually means, but the fact that it's sub shows that it's like, and that's the part that's I think that's the hupo part. Yeah, that's the 59 part. That because ballo has to do with more or less violent, arise, casting, sending, striking, throwing. So this is showing that that word hupo has a lot to do with a covert aspect of that coming of that light. It's coming secretly. You're not going to see it. You're not going to know it's there. So it's not going to be a physical. Then it's comparing that, saying that's how the Son of Man will be in his day. The offspring human will be in his day. He will be offspring human. That's cloaked. That's undercover. That's secretly. You don't know it. You can look him in the eye and you won't know that it's a member of the next level. Look at hupogrammosis, or grammanos, or copy for imitation. Hupo meaning an underwriting. Exhibit under the eyes. Anyway, I mean, there's all kinds of variations of it. But that's what that word under is talking about. I mean, I suspect that, well, it could mean the same thing in both cases. Where it says, like, under heaven, it could be saying that that it's the cloaked heaven they're talking about. The light is going to be shining among, through, of is from, out of, from out of the cloaked heaven, the underground heaven, not underground, but the undercover heaven, the hidden heaven. Or from the undercover members, through the undercover members. So undercover heaven, meaning the undercover heavenly crew that stay in heaven, through the undercover heaven as they, and you know how it said, like it was like through violence, through force. Well, it could be depicting. I don't know. I'm not gonna try to make this fit something else right now, but I think I'll just leave it at that for now. But and then it says, but first he must suffer many things and be rejected of this generation. So I'm not sure what that applies to yet. But because to be honest with you, this is the first time I've really looked at this verse to this degree and felt like I've seen this much more out of it. Uh, when a verse doesn't make a lot of sense and there's a lot of repetition in it, don't we shouldn't assume anything. We need to go to every word, and I think I've pretty much presented a real strong option here. And like I said, this can be used in multiple ways because when Doe comes back, let's say he comes back with the Son of Man vehicle, or we're going to see him as the Son of Man, or the individuals that know that mind will see him as the Son of Man, as the apple white vehicle, and the ones that don't know him will see him as space aliens. In either case, he will be disguised. In other words, you won't know it's Jesus. You know what I'm saying? So then this next verse can actually apply to where first he's going to suffer many things and be rejected of his generation. Well, Doe, through the apple Marshall White vehicle, was certainly rejected by the generation of that time. And that's what he's talking about here. He's going to be rejected of this generation. Remember, this whole conversation was about the return. Even though some Christians say he's talking about the generation rejected when he was Jesus. And they also say that his first coming was when he came, and then his second coming was when he came out of the tomb. Some people say that. Which, I mean, it's easy to say one thing here, but not tie it into everything else. But if it's true, then it's going to work with all the scriptures. And as I will be doing in future broadcasts, I will be showing how this interpretation now works with all the scriptures. But while I'm at it, let me throw in something about the rapture. Let's see, where do I want to go? Actually, I'm going to put you back on me for a second, if anybody who comes into this broadcast later. And I'm going to talk about how this verse that we just talked about is pretty much one of the most regularly quoted scriptures most Christians are taught to refer to in describing the so-called second coming of Jesus. And it has this parallel view with Matthew 24:27. But in Matthew 24:27, it doesn't talk about the under part. But, and it says from east to west you'll see him. But I have found that in many scriptures of the Gospels that Luke is more detailed and brings a lot more into it than I see in Matthew. I don't know. Maybe that's because Luke was a doctor, so he was more paying attention to the detail more, or he had a better command of the language differences. In whatever, I don't know if he was writing in Greek. Maybe he knew how to write in Greek, or what they called Greek Hebrew. They had like a language that was like a combination. So But another verse that is frequently translated as talking about the second coming is Revelations 1:7, where it says, uh, um, behold, he comes with clouds, and every eye shall see him, and they also which pierced him, and all kindreds of the earth shall wail because of him. Well, there's a lot to be said about that. With clouds also can mean with cloaking, because that word actually means cloudiness. And every eye shall see him. Uh, 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 eye actually has to do with understanding, um, and uh, and it also has to do with having the opportunity to see him. And every eye shall see him doesn't mean that, like let's say Doe comes back with the Applewhite vehicle. Well, he's not. I don't think he's coming back with the Applewhite vehicle. Okay, but I think he's coming back to where those who know him for who he is when he was in that Applewhite vehicle, I think is are going to see him as the Applewhite vehicle, and so every eye will see him, but they won't necessarily know that they're seeing him unless they had formed a bond with him. And that's whether he, and that's basically depicting him coming incarnate as well as in a spacecraft from outer space, to where we can just see that spacecraft, close by, and all the humans will say that it's a comet, or or it's space aliens, or it's Hollywood, or government secret weapon, or it's a like you said, a comet coming to destroy the Earth. They will have all those different interpretations, but some people will say that's Tian-Do and crew. And so every eye will see it, but they will all have a different interpretation. And some of them will hide from their faith. So they may in their minds actually see the Applewhite vehicle, but not because he will have that Applewhite vehicle, because it says he will be riding the white horse. It does say that in another verse, not the Revelation 6. So I don't know. It doesn't really matter. It can happen in any of these ways. It's not up to me to decide that, but it's up to me to help you see the option. So I didn't get to the the rapture part. So we'll save it for the next time. We got through a lot of stuff that's very pertinent. So I'm glad to have had this time. Thank you, Tian-Do, for the help that you gave me during this broadcast. Because I know, and crew, because I know a lot of stuff came through you, from you. Good night.
Thank you for using Blog Talk Radio. Goodbye.